Good morning, friends. Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. How are you? Great to see everybody this morning on with this angry sky about us. With these, from what the weatherman tells me, it is these wildfires that are happening out west have turned us opaque here. We are in Topaland. We are in that kind of haziness that is that kind of ominous feeling, and also some air quality warnings. So if your breather isn't so good, be attentive to that. So good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing great. Tonight is our big chicken and biscuit bingo. If you are in the area, I hope you'll come by. It's a great night. We eat chicken and we play bingo. That's it. It's as advertised, but it's our great fellowship event for the summer. It's a wonderful opportunity to get for the church together, have some fun, enjoy one another. There's much goodness in our days. So I hope you will find your way here this evening. Karen, good morning to you. Hope you're doing great. It is a hot one. It is steamy out there. Good morning, Yvette. Happy birthday to your young one. I know it's a big day for you guys. Thinking about you. Her and Alberto's daughter turns 18 today. So, all right, friends, let's get going this morning. It is the 15th day of July here on this Wednesday at 11:11, and welcome to the journey. There's this line from Paul in the book in the letter to the church in Galatia. Now, the church in Galatia isn't just like one place; it's a group of churches in this province. So there's this whole whole outbreak of Christianity that happens in Galatia, kind of central Turkey-ish, back where we would call today. And in this outbreak of Christianity, in this outbreak, this rising up of those who follow Jesus in the early church, there is this that begins as this Jewish messianic movement. And what does that mean? So it begins by these within the synagogues, but it also begins with these what are called God-fearers. These folks who are at the periphery. They're not Jews, but they respect and they like and they're a part of the Jewish tradition. They support the temple. They will be a part of temple, even though they're not full believers in the temple or full members of the Jewish tradition. So you have this communities, and that now the good news of Jesus Christ shows up to these communities, and it begins to spread like wildfire throughout the world, and it quickly spreads beyond Israel, and it spreads to this place called in Galatia, the number of cities and towns. Now Paul is, he becomes a missionary. He has his moment of revelation before Jesus, and he discovers, as he's starting to hear reports and beginning to, on his own missionary journeys, he begins to hear reports all around of people coming, of the movement of the Holy Spirit, people being touched to come and become followers of Jesus. And this, again, this isn't that. What this means in the first century is not an intellectual thing. We've kind of intellectualized this, meaning they've kind of made decisions about how what they're going to think about their faith. They come to what is happening is people are coming to live in a different way. They're coming to live in community with each other. They're coming to live in caring with each other. They're coming to live, and a lot of this is all centering around, the synagogue. they would have worship on Saturdays, and on Sundays they might come together as the followers of Jesus. So these things were very intertwined. But what began happening as the good news began to spread, and this was particularly true in Galatia, but it was true all over, is that the covenant people of the Jews who were circumcised and who kept the law and kept the Torah were getting this influx of people who were not circumcised, who were not keeping kosher, who were not observing the Sabbath, but had been touched by the call of Christ. And the question was, what are we supposed to do with these people? And many of the early Jewish Christians believed that the non-Jews they had to kind of become Jews in order to kind of find their way into true relationship with Jesus. And so they were insisting that full-grown males had to become circumcised. Full-grown, they had to change their dietary ways to become kosher. They had to start dressing in a particular way, start worshiping in a particular way, and that this is again a particular problem in the Galatian churches, and it's undermining what Paul is doing, because what Paul is saying is that the promises that had been made in the Old Testament about all the people coming to know Yahweh and coming to know the Lord, and they would come to know that through the Messiah, that Jesus was that Messiah, and so it was a salvation, it was a good news for everybody. And that's baked into the Old Testament story. So Paul wasn't making that up. He was actually a scholar of the Old Testament way. He was a Pharisee himself. So he knew this. And so now he's telling that, and now he sees in this pattern, he sees in these miracles, he sees in the resurrection of Jesus the very story that he'd been waiting for all this time. This is why Paul can pick things up like that. Nobody ever notices that Paul, he goes from this radical experience in Damascus, where he was on his way to persecute Christians, to then all of a sudden just shifting gears almost immediately to now not only loving them, but telling the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And nobody says, well, gosh, that was a big turnaround. I mean, we all recognize that. But why was it so seamless? Because this is what he'd spent his whole life preparing for. All of the study that he'd done in the Torah, all of the study that he'd done, all of the ritual that he kept, all of the spiritual disciplines he'd been keeping, all of them were preparing him for the coming of the Messiah. And when he saw Jesus in it, he didn't need to be retooled. He didn't need to relearn anything. It was, in fact, because it was all right there already. Like, all he had to do was begin to apply all that he had been formed in already by saying, oh, the Messiah is here. We have a whole book of instruction of what we're supposed to do when the Messiah shows up, so let's do that. And at the core of this, we find in the Old Testament prophets, is the ministry and the invitation to all the people of the world. That the division, the wall between the Jews and between the Hebrews and between the keepers of the law and the pagans is torn down, and God's promise and God's love is for everybody. And so when Paul finds out what's going on in Galatia, it both makes him mad and it also breaks his heart, because at the end of the day, Paul, if he's nothing, he's a pastor. He loves his churches and he loves his people and he loves the people that are coming to them. And so these Greeks, these other people that are coming that are finding their way into the synagogues to worship Jesus, to walk in this new way, to live in this new way. This is really the application of how they were living, to live in this new way. That was being completely sabotaged by these Jews that say, oh no, you need to do all the things that we used to do. You need to you need to keep all the rules. You need to do the hokey pokey and turn it all around. That this is actually, and that this was a blatant disregard of what both the Scriptures said, but also what the whole point of a Messiah was to begin with, in his understanding. And so he has this one line. And so I set you all up just so we can understand this one line. I know, isn't it just like, God, and you get to it already. Get on with it, as Monty Python would say. But it's this line, and we have to kind of come to know this is Galatians 6:10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. And I love this line because I think it answers the question so much about how we're to be. Like what are we supposed to do often in the course of our lives? Are we supposed to like sell all we own, shave our head, and go hand out daisies at the airport? Are we supposed to live this monastic life, or are we supposed to, become, go join a convent, become a nun? Are we how are we operationally supposed to live this life that Jesus has given us? How are we supposed to be what we are in this world, which is a fantastic and wonderful and ever evolving question. It's not just how do I be a mom, or how do I be a dad, or how do I be a construction worker, or how do I be this, but how do I be a Christian mom? How do I be a Christian dad? How do I be a Christian construction worker? How do I be these things? How do I be a firefighter, a policeman, or whatever you want to, how do I be a Christian gardener? Like all of the things of our life, to begin to see them about how we are to be in them. Because there's all sorts of distractions that are telling us often to abandon like the things that we love, right? Like, oh, if you really didn't, you would, if you really loved God, you wouldn't do this, or you wouldn't do that, or you wouldn't go to a movie, or you wouldn't, like what? There's all, we can have this very legalistic and restrictive kind of idea that can creep in all the times, that we're, the things we really like, we're supposed to just throw away, or we're supposed to just give it all away and love other people, unabashedly, but this line from Galatians, I think, rescues us in so many ways and is clarifying in so many ways. At least it is for me, and I come back to it again and again and again as kind of a rubric of what I'm supposed to do, and particularly as somebody who is charged, as we all are, to be a steward of our energies. We only have, while we all have the same 24 hours in a day, we don't all have the same level of energy. We don't have the same level of wisdom. We don't have the same, and I haven't had the same level of wisdom or the same level of energy, over time. Take me back to 30. I was a lot dumber, and I had a lot more energy, which got me through the dumbness of a lot of things. That even this understanding of it evolves for us even within our own lifetime. Not even, and then you apply different roles, different jobs, different cultures, different people on top of all that. And so it comes back to this line that Paul gives us in Galatians. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. As we have opportunity. And this is what I really think is where I wanted us to land today, and what I really wanted to hold up for all of you, is that you have 24 hours in the day. You have some of it you can spend sleeping, so much you can spend care for, and opportunities will present themselves in the course of your day, to be loving or to be selfish, to kind of overcome your own inhibitions or your own hang-ups, or be able to kind of step out and be a little more caring, or a little more wise, or a little more invitational to the people around you. Like that our lives and our being, as we have opportunity, will give us chances to love other people and to do good for other people as we can. And that if we're a hot mess on a shingle, the first thing that we need to do is clean up our hot mess on a shingle, because that's not loving to other people. And we don't have opportunity to care for others. We don't have ability if we're a mess. And so there is this way in which it orients us, is that one of the things of our life is to just to grant us opportunity. My theologian Swedenborg talks a lot about, this, not a lot, but he's very clear about like the idea of people, we often think about rich people can't go to heaven, or rich, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich person to enter heaven. You get all this kind of stuff against, and he has a very different take on it. He says, like, look, no, there is no problem with being wealthy in this world. The question is, what then do you do with your wealth? Do you sit on it like a dragon? Or does it give you opportunity to create opportunities and to love people around you and to do good for the world and for the people that you're in? And that is the difference. That are we in wealth for the sake of our wealth, for the sake of are we using dollars to keep score, or are we using dollars to do good to our neighbor? And I think if you think about this is really like the core of how we are, because this is what it does for us when we look at this world through the lens of opportunity, the lens of as we have opportunity to do good. Because we have an opportunity to do good to the person in the checkout line at the grocery store with us. We have opportunity to do good at as when we're getting gas. We have opportunity to do good in the most basic and mundane parts of our lives. God will present us these people who are an opportunity to love the world. And will we step into it? Will we step into it? Will we kind of keep that division that Paul was breaking Paul's heart and making him mad even way back in the day? This division of, you're in my tribe, you're in my club, or you're not in my club. And it doesn't say don't care for the people that are in your club. He says that those, especially those who belong to the family of believers, we have an opportunity. We can be more vulnerable. We can be more giving with the people that we're in covenantal and trust and love with. That's real. But this, I want to invite you into the framing of the opportunity of living. Because when we step into the opportunity of living, what we really step into is the henani of life. Henani is the second most holy word in Hebrew Scripture. And, the first holy word you can't say, which is the name of God. The second most holy word, which is the most holy word that you can say, was permitted to say, was henani. And it means, here am I. It is this presentation of declaring yourself to present yourself before God. And when you see that little checkout kid struggling with the bag and having a bad day and needing encouragement, and you step in to give them that encouragement, to say a kind word, to do a kind thing, to offer goodness to the people that are in your midst, what you're doing is making yourself you are stepping into the grand henani of life. You're saying, here I am, Lord, I'm going to love this person. Here I am, Lord, I'm going to try and do good in this moment. Here I am, Lord, I'm going to step into the graciousness and goodness of being for all of creation. Not just that they carry the ID card that I carry, not just that they live the way that I live, not just that they are the way that I am, but that the covenant of God has come to cover over all peoples, and in doing so, it comes to cover over all of us. As we have opportunity, let us do good to all people. So that's my hope for you today, is that you will step into the henani of life, the here I amness of it. That every time you see you're presented with an opportunity for good, you see it not just like a deed that you can do to help somebody out, but as a presentation to the Most High to say, here I am, Lord. Send me. All right, friends. Peace and grace to you all. I hope you'll show up for Chicken and Bingo tonight. If you are around, it's going to be a great night. Peace and grace to you all. Donna, glad you made it in. Jamie, glad you're here. Jane, good to see you. Here I am. So great to see you. All right, peace and grace, everyone. We'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.